What's going on, guys? It's Lomax here, and welcome to another Battleborn character guide. This one will be featuring El Dragon.
You have guts! Stupid guts!
El Dragon is a member of the LLC. He's their attacker. Now, he's one of my favorite characters to use, and I really enjoy his personality, like the character itself. The only weird thing is his skills kind of feel... they don't feel so smooth as some of the other characters, and if you play him, you'll probably notice what I'm saying. But anyways, let's get into El Dragon's abilities. El Dragon's passive Undisputed Champ is going to give us a stack every time we kill an enemy. Now, this can include human players, AI, minions, anything. Anytime we kill something, we're going to get a stack, which will boost our melee damage. We can have a maximum of 10 stacks. Half of them are lost on death. El Dragon's weapon, quote-unquote, are his cybernetic arms, in which he uses to beat the living crap out of things. He's got a 4-strike melee combo, which is his primary attack. His secondary attack is a clap. And if you use the melee button while you are sprinting, the mouse 3, or I don't know what it would be on whatever the melee button would be on controller, you can also get a drop kick while you're sprinting. As for El Dragon's talent, his championship belt, to be honest, I have no idea what this does. If you guys do know, feel free to tell me, because I sure as hell can't figure this one out. We're going to start off with El Dragon's ultimate before we get into his other two skills, because it's kind of important that we do it this way. So, En Fuego, when used, causes El Dragon to stop momentarily and explode and deal damage to nearby enemies. Then, for the next 10 seconds, your attacks and your skills take on additional properties. Your melee attacks will be much faster and much harder, and as for the skills, we'll get into them as we go through the basic descriptions of them. For El Dragon's first skill, we have Clothesline, which causes him to charge forward in a straight line and deal damage to any enemies who he runs through. Now, the only problem I have with this skill is that it's kind of hard to hit. It also doesn't do very much damage, but if you try it for yourself, you'll kind of see what I mean. It's kind of wonky if you try and use it on something. You might run past them, and then just a mess. It's good as a gap closer, but as a damage-dealing skill, I don't like it. Now, with the En Fuego effect on Clothesline, instead of charging forward, you'll actually leap forward and deal damage to any enemy unfortunate enough to be in your landing zone. His second skill, Dragon Splash, will cause him to leap into the air and come crashing back down, dealing damage to nearby enemies. Now, Dragon Splash with the En Fuego buff will do the exact same thing, but it will stun all enemies' damage. So this is basically giving you an AoE stun with your ultimate, which is pretty goddamn sweet. Now that we've taken a look at all of his abilities, let's get into the Helix tree. At level 1, we're going to get 2 skills. The first one is going to buff Clothesline, it's called the Stunner. And the second one is called the Comeback, and that's going to buff Dragon Splash. The Stunner is going to cause enemies who are hit by Clothesline to be slowed for 3 seconds. And the only problem with this skill is Clothesline is kind of hard to hit in the first place, so I'm much more likely to go with the Comeback, which is going to cause enemies that are hit by Dragon Splash to deal reduced damage, which I think is going to be really nice if you're fighting melee characters who are going to fight with you if you go into battle with them. You can use this and you'll reduce their damage. It'll give you an advantage in the fight. At level 2, we're going to get 2 abilities that are going to buff Dragon Splash. We'll get Splash Damage and Momentum. With Splash Damage, we're going to leave behind an electrical field anytime we use Dragon Splash, and if any enemy comes into this field, they're going to be taking damage for 6 seconds. Now, I like this skill in both PvE and PvP. I think in PvE it's good because any enemies you attack, any minions you attack, will just sit in this circle of damage, basically. Or, you know, until they die, pretty much, if you don't kill them with Dragon Splash. In PvP, I like this skill too, because if you get someone to fight you after you use Dragon Splash, you can hopefully keep them in your circle unless they run, and they'll take extra damage. As for Momentum, it will increase your movement speed by 10% and decrease your cooldown time by 10% for every enemy you hit. So this could actually be really good if you have large groups of enemies, because then you can kind of just spam it because the cooldown will be so short. But if you're dealing with a single target, I don't think this is going to make a huge difference. At level 3, we're going to get 2 skills that buff our cybernetic arms. The first will be Deafening Applause, and the second will be Power Fist. Deafening Applause is going to double the attack range of El Dragon's Clap attack. Now, this attack isn't really that great to begin with, so doubling the range isn't going to improve it magically. It's kind of slow with its attack speed. It looks pretty cool, but it's not super effective. Power Fist, on the other hand, is going to give your 4th melee strike in your little melee combo a bonus punch at the end of it, which will deal bonus damage. The only issue I have with Power Fist is it can be kind of disorienting at the end when you launch the punch, but I'm more likely to take Power Fist than Deafening Applause. At level 4, we're going to get 2 skills that are going to buff our Clothesline ability. We're going to get Rope-a-Dope, and we're going to get Flailing Fists. Now, with Rope-a-Dope, we will be able to kind of use Clothesline twice. You use it the first time, and you can run into combat, but say you don't like the situation, you can actually use it again, and you'll just turn around and start sprinting the other way, so it kind of saves you from trouble. With Flailing Fists, whenever we deactivate Clothesline mid-sprint, it'll stop our dash and will execute a ground slam, knocking any enemies into the air that happen to be around us. Now, I feel like this is way, way better than Rope-a-Dope. Rope-a-Dope is, in my eyes, purely a defensive skill, and not very useful at that. Flailing Fists, though, and AoE knockup, you really can't beat that. I'd go with that. Do it. At level 5, we're going to get 2 skills that are going to boost the effects of Undisputed Champion. The first one is Heavyweight, and the second one is Welterweight. Heavyweight is going to give us 3% damage reduction per stack of Undisputed Champion, so you can have a maximum of 30%. Its counterpart, Welterweight, will give us 1.5% movement speed for every stack we have, so up to 15%. Now, at this level, I'm going to go Heavyweight because damage reduction in a fight is going to be really, really nice to have. 30% damage reduction is a decent amount. And you don't really need the movement speed because you have gap closers that can get you closer to your enemies, or, you know, you can use them as escapes too if you really need to. So, I think damage reduction is the way to go here with Heavyweight. At level 6, we're going to get 2 skills. The first one's going to buff Dragon Splash, it's called Hang Time, and the second one is going to buff Clothesline, it's called Neck Breaker. Going with Hang Time is going to cause our shields to immediately start recharging whenever we use Dragon Splash, as well as give us some health regen. Neck Breaker will increase Clothesline's damage. Now, keep in mind, Clothesline doesn't do very much damage to begin with, so for me, personally, I'm going to take Hang Time every time. It just makes you a lot more tanky, and it's just flat out better than Neck Breaker, in my opinion. At level 7, we're going to get another 2 skills that buff Dragon Splash. The first one's going to be From the Top Rope, The second one is going to be Big Splash. From the top rope is going to reduce Dragon Splash's cooldown by 20%. Now, this used in conjunction with momentum can be really cool. If you can hit a lot of enemies, it can lower your cooldown rate quite significantly. Big Splash is going to increase the size of Dragon Splash's area of effect by 50%. Now, if you use this with splash damage, you're going to have a bigger area for that damage over time after you land a Dragon Splash. When deciding between these two skills, I'm going to have to go with Big Splash because I like having the bigger area of effect. It's pretty close, honestly. They're both really good skills, but I think having the bigger area of effect and the potential stun you have with On Fuego on Dragon Splash makes it a little better for me. At level 8, we're going to get two skills that are going to buff our dropkick ability. The first will be Heart of the Champion, and the second will be Attitude Adjustment. Heart of the Champion is going to give us a 100% lifesteal bonus for our dropkick. So any damage we deal with our dropkick will be returned to us as health. And Attitude Adjustment is going to give us a damage amplification effect on dropkick, so anytime we hit something with a dropkick, enemies will take increased damage for 8 seconds. For me, Heart of the Champion just doesn't do it. 100% lifesteal and an ability that doesn't really do any damage isn't going to be that great. I'd much rather have Attitude Adjustment, which will give the damage amplification. But to be honest, I'm probably not going to be using too many dropkicks mid-combat anyways. At level 9, we're going to get another two skills that buff Clothesline. The first one will be Cut the Line. The second will be Lifeline. Cut the Line is going to reduce our cooldown for Clothesline for every enemy we hit by 10%. And Lifeline is going to give us 100% lifesteal on Clothesline, so any damage we deal with it is going to be directly returned to us as health. Now, truthfully, I don't really like either skill, because I don't really like Clothesline as a damage dealing skill. It doesn't really deal much damage. So I have a hard time picking between either one. I'd be tempted to say Lifeline, because if you can use the ground pound on Clothesline, it might be better to have lifesteal there. But I don't really think either skill is that great. And finally, at level 10, we're going to get two skills that are going to buff our ultimate On Fuego. The first will be Title Fight, and the second will be Dragon Fire. Title Fight will create a wrestling ring of fire around El Dragon, and any enemies who enter or exit the ring will be damaged. Dragonfire is going to cause El Dragon's secondary melee attack, his Clap, to instead fire a fireball out of his hands. I think that Title Fight's a little better here, because you don't have to worry about clapping in the middle of a fight to do damage to your enemy. You have this ring around you that, someone who enters or leaves is going to take damage from. So, if you're fighting a melee character, I definitely would take this. If you need more range, then go Dragonfire. Now, you might have noticed there are no mutation unlocks featured in this video, and I kind of decided against doing that, and I think for future guides, I probably won't include them, because I don't want to just showcase the two that I have when I have to go back and do the other three. I'd rather just do them all at the same time. So I think in the future, I'm just going to make new videos featuring all the mutation skills, and we'll compare them to the other skills you can acquire at their levels. But that is going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about El Dragon. As always, feel free to rate and or comment down below. And if you have any insight, anything you want to say about this video, if you disagree with anything, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I'm always curious to hear what you guys have to say. And it helps me make better videos, I think. But your support for this series has been really great, and I want to thank you all again. And I'll catch you next time.